What's up, computer magicians and wizards alike? Today's topic is going to be about computers and the crazy state of supercomputers and how we use them in terms of warfare and in terms of government and all the stuff that surrounds our daily lives, and we don't even really know about it, right? So first I'm gonna roll back and talk about the beginning with phones, right? So as soon as we invented phones, we invented ways of tapping phones, right? So as things progressed, right, and then we get text messages, we get the internet, we get video calls, right? So the great minds in government start thinking about how computers can be used in terms of warfare or gathering intelligence. And it starts off with, I believe, the Apollo program, right? Going to the moon. That was like the first time we really put computers to use in terms of an objective goal, right? We used all these fucking giant computers the size of rooms and stuff to calculate and get our those heroes. In my mind, they're heroes, man. They're awesome fucking people to space, you know? They really did risk their lives to accomplish those goals. And it's a really amazing thing to be proud of those people, you know? Like, you should be proud of those people. That's for our species. That's not just for America. That's for our species, you know? But let's fast forward. We invent the internet after the computer, right? So the computer essentially by itself is it's a giant calculator. Once they introduced something like Microsoft Word to it, then it became like a tool to be used, right? And then the internet got created. So most people have no idea that it was the CIA and it was the US government that invented the internet. Now, why would they invent the internet, right? This was supposed to be a contingency plan in case something went wrong and telecommunications went down. You can use the internet to send messages for help and whatnot. Obviously, it cascaded into a whole new ballpark, right? Now, I'm gonna jump forward just to make it a little interesting. So there was this general. I'm not great with names, so don't hold my feet to fire in terms of names, right? So there was this general, a retired general. So every year, you know, governments get together and they have what's called war games, right? Where they compete with each other in war trials just to build morale, to train their troops, get an idea of each other's capabilities and whatnot. So this retired American general, they pulled him and they designated him to this music is fucking driving me crazy, man. I can't concentrate. So they pulled the general out. So they gave him, I believe, like Iran, or they gave him Iraq or Afghanistan, one of these countries, right? And he was supposed to be like the 4-star general in terms of that country, right? So this general, man, being the smart motherfucker he is, bro, like, this dude was old, read so many, like, this guy just knew his shit inside and out. And he obviously knew the American military because he was an American general. So what this guy's idea was that all communication had to be done person to person. It had to be done old school. Like, you write it down on a piece of paper, hop on a motorcycle, ride across town, and hand the orders over, or whatever it is. All information had to be, this guy like took it back to the Stone Age. On the other side, like, you have countries like America where we're so technical. We have all these computers and shit involved in everything we fucking do, right? This guy took it so old school that in these war games, America had no fucking clue what to do because they couldn't gather information. They couldn't tap anything. They couldn't get anything. Everything was coded, right? The amount of time it took to break codes. If you did find the code, if they swallowed the fucking note, whatever they did, right? And this guy actually succeeded in this. And they ended up pulling this general out and they reprimanded him. They got kind of upset that him being a retired American general, he kind of like, I guess he brought bad light to the American military by being the great general he was, you know. But they gave him a task and this guy completed it with excellence, man, right? So it's really ironic that sometimes the technology you use can be used against you and it can hold you captive, right? It's like in Fight Club, like when it goes, the things you own end up owning you, you know, that type of a thing. Now, the United States, we, not only us, but we have invested not trillions, but billions in supercomputers, right? They built like these giga computers, man, these massive computers that can do so much and they can hold so much data. And what was the purpose of creating such a computer, right? Well, one, it's gathering intel. So every little bit of, because let me back up and talk about the legality of things. So first of all, it's illegal to tap your phone or your information, right? But it's only illegal if they're doing it and then they present it in a courtroom. But if they gather information and never do anything with that information in regards to coming after you or the citizens of this country that they spy on and stuff, then you'll never know and they'll never be reprimanded, right? No court will say you can't do this because, well, they're doing it and they're not really doing anything with it, and so it's not coming to light. It's like the technology is far ahead of the laws that are there to protect us, essentially, right? So these gigacomputers, they gather every single type of information you've ever put out in the world, man. It could be a dick pic from, like, you know, this is fucking 5th grade. Who the fuck knows, man? Not the 5th grade, but, like, you know, 6th, 7th grade. I was a perv at that age. Fuck. But yeah, we didn't have, I don't think we had smartphones at that age, so we didn't have the dick pic problem at that time. You know, sometimes you gotta throw a worm to catch a fish, right? No, I'm fucking with you. Don't do dick pics, man. That's some weird shit. You know, just say hi and talk to people. But anyway, so fucking anything you've ever put out there, man, they're gathering information, and they're gathering information on everybody. And the reason why is because as an individual, you are very unique. It is very hard to say what you're gonna do, how you're gonna react, how you're gonna act, how you're gonna think. All these things are unique to you. But when you get a census on everybody, you can pinpoint very accurately, extremely accurately, what groups of people are gonna do. So it's like that thing of, like, I think it was in Men in Black when it goes, a person is smart, people are panicky idiots, you know, or whatever he says. And it's absolutely true. You know, people, like the mob mentality, when people get into groups, you can very easily predict all this stuff. And it's all predictable with computers. So the more information you gather, the more information you have on preventing things, the more information you have on if I do A, B is gonna happen, or C is gonna happen. So it's a very important thing for a government to wanna, it's an important tool for government to wanna have, right? So what else do we use these computers for? Well, contingency plans. If you know what contingency, if you don't know, contingency plans are basically, I'm not going there. Contingency plans are basically when government sits a bunch of like smart ass people together, or like strategists and scientists and all kinds of like smart people together, and they tell them, well, we need you to think up scenarios, what ifs, right? And then come out with a plan to solve the problem, essentially, right? So what happens if Mexico attacks United States, right? And then it just rolls out from there. And then you have a contingency plan for that. What happens if a nuclear reactor in the eastern hemisphere of the United States goes fucking critical? What happens if it's on the west coast? What happens if there's a tsunami? What happens if there's a giant earthquake in the west coast? What happens in whatever? So there's a contingency plan for every fucking thing you can imagine. Because for years and years, these people fucking put time and effort into thinking of what ifs and what do we do? What do we do when the aliens land? So there's some dude with a briefcase for every single thing that happens. So if you've ever watched a movie where like the world is in danger and some shit is happening, and then suddenly government comes in and takes over, right? Like these soldiers walk in, put these briefcases down, and there's a reason why they bring briefcases and shit, because it has all those contingency plans. It has like, if this happens, well, we need to do this. If this happens, we need to do this. We have to be kind of prepared for this shit, right? We can't just go like blindly throw darts at things, you know? Especially if you're a superpower, you kind of have to look forward, right? So these computers, these supercomputers, we have them for these contingency plans. We have them to spy on our people. We have them to make money for government. We have them for all kinds of fucking purposes. And computers are they have like such powerful computers right now, like they can do all kinds of fucking calculations that we were never able to do before, you know, where computers are creating technology for us. That's where we are right now. So we've already used computers to better, let's say, airplanes and parts for airplanes. So we put in an objective into the computer. Here's like the circumference of the airplane, and we need to build, let's say, a wall that has to be lightweight yet strong. And the computer actually came out with a better design than any people have ever made, and it ended up being and it's implemented in a lot of airplanes now. It's like it's lighter than anything we've ever created, and it's much stronger than anything we've ever created, and it looks bone-like, the way like our bone structure is. That's what it looks like. So that's one thing, like one way computers are being used in terms of government. Now we can create entire aircraft on the computer, design it, test it on computers, all this stuff before we even get to like miniature models, you know. They actually used computers to see how accurate they developed the SR-71, right? And it turned out these dudes with just fucking slide rulers made a perfect airplane, man. The computer like found almost no faults on this fucking amazing aircraft that they created way back when, right? And then comes the weird part. The weird part is like the Terminator thing, right? Or like how sentient is a computer, right? Because we've had nanotechnology for a while. I jump around. This is the way my mind thinks. I'm sorry if you it's hard to keep up. But so we've had our hands in nanotechnology for a while now. You can actually Google nanotechnology patents that the United States submitted like in the 90s and 2000s, man. Like all the way back when, like nanotech, like tech motors. So a motor with only like, that's just like 3 microns thick. It just like 5 molecules and it's a motor. You know, like we've invented and patented all this nanotechnology shit, you know, which is incredible. But we don't see this in the everyday. Like, we don't even hear about all this shit, right? So with these computers, we're able to create all kinds of fucking crazy shit. And the next step in the evolution of computers was to do biomechanical, which means like the computer is part alive. It's biological and it's technical. So like how the Terminator, for example, was like, he's like like metallic endoskeleton with human flesh over it, or whatever the fuck Arnold Schwarzenegger said, right? So that's biomechanical, so a living machine. And that was supposed to be the future of computers. Well, all this stuff, like, they mention it and then it disappears. They never talk about it again. And the reason they don't talk about it is because it all goes under black projects. As soon as they talk about it, and then it gets some information, and then there's some merit to it, suddenly a whole bunch of money gets dumped into it, and it all becomes secretive, and it is what it is. So we're doing all kinds of crazy shit, you know? And in terms of computers, now it's like, it's super important to have these supercomputers in terms of national security. Because if you ever watched, I forgot which Die Hard movie, it was the last one, when there was a fire sale, right, where everything got hacked. That's a real thing. Our water, our power, the street lights, all this stuff, it really is like on computers and stuff. And if someone hacks it, we can be in a lot of fucking shit, you know? They could literally turn the lights out for months, send us back to the Stone Age. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we've had to create these supercomputers to also protect our assets and protect our people and whatnot. Now, on the reverse side of that coin, we can also use those computers to attack other countries and cause blackouts and all kinds of problems and whatnot. So that's some light shed on the computer wizardry and magic, right? I'll probably make a part 2 of this video. I might even revise this video because it's like straight off the top of my head, you know? But you guys have a lovely day. You computer people that are clickety-clacketing away on those keyboards, you guys are awesome, especially engineers. I love when people create shit, man. That creativity thing that people have, it blows my mind, especially when they create some dope ass shit. So you clickety-clackety geeky people, dude, man, like, you guys are awesome. You guys have a nice day. Peace.